Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to today's PATA webinar on unlocking economic outlook through community intervention and digital skills, a new approach for tourism capacity building in Asia. In this webinar, we will be joined by leading industry experts from Airbnb, International Society Foundation, Spark, and Global Himalayan Expedition. The individuals are Asmita, Joshi, Joyce, Dogniez, Maica, Teves, and Simarpreet, Kaur. Hello, everyone. My name is Pavnesh Kumar, and I'm the Director of Sustainability and Research at Pacific Asia Travel Association, and I'll be your MC for today's webinar. Starting today's webinar, let's invite Noor Ahmed, Chief Executive Officer of PATA, for the welcome remarks.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all who have joined us today. Welcome to the PATA webinar on unlocking economic opportunity through community intervention and digital skilling, a new approach for tourism capacity building in Asia. As the CEO of PATA, I'm honored to address you today. Firstly, I extend my sincere thanks to our esteemed partners at Airbnb for their invaluable assistance in organizing today's webinar. I also like to express gratitude to our distinguished speakers from the Internet Society Foundation, Spark Philippines, and Global Himalayan Expedition for joining our panel discussion. For those who may be unfamiliar with us, founded more than 70 years ago in 1951, the Pacific Asia Travel Association, better known as PATA, is a not-for-profit member association that acts as a catalyst for the responsible development of travel and tourism to, from, and within the Asia-Pacific region. By bridging together our private and public sector members, PATA facilitates meaningful partnerships to enhance the value, quality, and sustainable growth of travel and tourism in the region. In 2021, PATA launched the Tourism Destination Resilience Program, or the TDR, as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic to assist in a rapid, robust, and responsible reopening of international tourism by building the capacity of Asia-Pacific destinations toward resilience and sustainability. As part of this initiative, we have launched a course in collaboration with Visa, focusing on enhancing the adaptive capacity and resilience on tourism businesses. One of these courses' primary focus is enhanced two digital skills for tourism SMEs. It is available in 6 languages, and in-person workshops conducted in collaboration with Visa have benefited 120 tourism businesses across 4 destinations. Building on this success, PATA has expanded the TDR program to Sarawak, Malaysia, with a renewed emphasis on resilience and sustainability. Digital skills for tourism MSMEs were a cornerstone of the program, highlighting the critical role of digitalization in the post-COVID-19 tourism landscape. Today's webinar underscores our commitment to exploring how private sectors can collaborate with destinations and communities to enhance tourism business capacity. PATA recognizes that while digital tourism platforms promise economic opportunity for all, certain communities still face significant hurdles due to inequitable access to digital skills and training. Therefore, capacity building projects like those facilitated by Airbnb are pivotal in empowering communities to overcome this obstacle. Putting a focus on improving internet connectivity, enhancing digital literacy, fostering entrepreneurship, and strengthening tourism operations are vital. Together, let's uncover opportunities for destinations and communities to collaborate effectively with the private sector in bridging the digital divide and promoting inclusive growth. Once again, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Airbnb for their support in organizing today's webinar, to our esteemed speakers from Internet Society Foundation, Spark Philippines, and Global Himalayan Expeditions for the insight. And to all participants for joining us today, once again, thank you.
Thanks, Noor, for the wonderful welcome remarks. Now, before we begin with the webinar, just a few housekeeping notes. Everyone is familiar with Zoom, so I'll be quick and sweet in this one. The chat feature right on the bottom side. Please use that to engage with other participants and do not submit questions to the speakers using this function. To submit questions, please use the Q&A function. So to make sure that all your questions reach speakers in a timely manner and they are answered. Without further ado, let's start today's webinar.
I just want to start with saying it's such a pleasure to have you, Joyce, Maica, Simarpreet, with us on the panel. We're all super excited to learn more about the work that you're doing. And maybe we can start with a quick round of introductions, a bit about yourself, a little bit about the organizations that you represent today. And then we can just get into, individual questions. So we can start with Maica.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Maica Teves, the Executive Director of Spark Philippines. We are an NGO based in Quezon City. Our main thrust is women's economic empowerment. We work with marginalized communities, those who are low income, single mothers, senior citizens, victim survivors of gender-based violence. With the support, of course, of government, diplomatic missions, and private sector. Those are the communities that we at Spark serve.
Amazing. I'm sorry, I was in mute. Thank you so much, Maica. To Joyce.
Thank you, Asmita, and thank you for the very kind words you already shared. You're becoming our true advocate, so thank you for that. My name is Joyce Dogniez. I'm Vice President, as it says here, Empowerment and Outreach for the Internet Society Foundation. The Internet Society is a global charity or charitable organization that is empowering people to keep the internet as a force for good, as a force for opportunity. And so what we believe in is an open, globally connected, secure, and trustworthy internet, which is increasingly becoming important as well. And so, as Mita already alluded to, we have two main pillars of work, really. One is to bring connectivity to people who don't have it, and we really focus on the hardest to reach communities. So where traditionally there is less interest from the commercial connectivity efforts because of the remoteness or the lower populations. We look at affordability of the internet as well, which is another big pillar. And then the last one is looking at the security of the internet and making sure that people feel secure once they are connected to the internet. And being here today is a tremendous pleasure, not only because of the amazing partnership we have with Airbnb, but it takes me back a couple of years where I used to work for the meetings and events industry, where connecting people really made a difference. And so knowing that travel and tourism is equally doing that, and so we are now really looking at connecting people not only physically, but also thanks to the internet and thanks to the opportunities that the internet has to bring. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce. It's truly our pleasure. And last but not the least, we have Simarpreet here from Global Himalayan Expedition. Over to you, Simarpreet.
Thank you, Asmita. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Simar, and I'm the Senior Manager at Global Himalayan Expedition. We are basically focused on rural destination development, and I'm currently leading the Mountain Homestays Initiative, which is the another part where we mainly focus on the community-based tourism, also focusing on training the local hosts and local people from different regions, from Ladakh to Nagaland. And it has been a great opportunity being here, and I want to thank all of you for being here in the session present, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. And I think now is the perfect time for us to dive into the questions. I will start again with you, Maica, because what you mentioned recently and what I also spoke a little bit about is the Quezon City Entrepreneurship Academy. So Airbnb and Spark partnered to launch an entrepreneurship academy, as we often call it. Can you share, and I think there's also a question in the chat box right now, are the learnings that you had from that academy, ways that you think a program like this can truly impact communities positively, and more importantly, if there's someone else in the audience who wants to do something similar in another destination, how can you scale this program globally?
Yeah, through the Airbnb Academy, we were able to develop, to equip the students with the necessary tools that they use to pursue employment, basically related to Philippine tourism. The Academy demonstrated the importance of targeted training and upskilling for local entrepreneurs. Of course, targeting women. This not only enhanced their business capabilities, but also boosted their confidence. And of course, our aim was really on economic independence. The engagement of different stakeholders was very important in implementing this. With our partnership with Airbnb and of course the Quezon City government, Quezon City being the most populous and biggest city in the Philippines, we were able to tailor a program that addressed the unique needs of local entrepreneurs, specifically in the area. And of course, for this, we focus on digital literacy, hospitality management, and customer service, which we felt were the most important pillars for this program. The program also built, which was for me the most important among all, was really the program built a sense of community of the participants. They became, it became a sisterhood. Some of them were able to share what they were able to get to know from each other. They shared the same goals and the same thinking. Many of them encouraged their peers, and this helped them build their own network because of the program. The program had topics related, of course, to delivering, which is very important to us being a partner of Airbnb, was really exceptional customer service. The aim was to enhance their communication, problem solving, and interpersonal skills. And manage, of course, various situations encountered in the front line of service provision. The goal was to ensure frontline service that can be delivered professionally and competently, effectively representing, of course, our organization. Both communities, aside from the Philippines and local entrepreneurs, can benefit from such partnerships that we had mentioned. Of course, partnering with Airbnb and Quezon City government, which were amazing partners. We couldn't have done this without these partnerships. Collaboration, which I think a question that you asked on how this can be scaled. I think collaborations with global platforms, like of course, like Airbnb, can open up international markets for local entrepreneurs, increasing their visibility and potential customers. Of course, this will help diversify income sources and, of course, elevate their service standards to meet global expectations. What I felt was the communities really benefited from the economic growth, job creation, and enhanced skills within the local workforce.
Amazing. No, this is truly helpful, and collaboration is key. That has also been our biggest takeaway, doing these programs is finding the right partners and then driving the right kind of impact on the ground. In the same vein, Maica, just to carry on that thought, did you also face any specific challenges? You mentioned you work with marginalized communities and communities who often don't stand, equitable opportunities in the societies that we function in. So are there any specific challenges that you face? Not just in particular, I would say, with the academy that we launched, but in just general Spark programs that you run. And how do you think, how do you overcome them? Do you think there's any other ways that partners who are thinking of doing something similar can, think about the problems that it might occur? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be how we would digitalize tourism. I mentioned earlier the communities that we at Spark serve are really, come from far-flung areas, low income. And I think we're really a face-to-face organization. Us as an organization, we had difficulties as well because most of our programming was really on the ground. We go to communities, and I think the main challenge was really how to digitalize tourism. The challenge was that many of our participants needed more basic digital literacy. Of course, making it difficult for them to fully engage with digital tools and platforms. That was really, I think, one of the main things that we were facing. We tried to introduce functional digital literacy training with professionals who could guide them through a step-by-step approach, ensuring that everyone had the necessary skills, of course, to participate effectively. I think another challenge that was that the ensuring of the sustainability and continuity of the participants for their skills beyond the training. We wanted this to go beyond, of course, the experience of the women who were part of this. To address this, we implemented a job matching program in partnership with the government and private sector partners who were from the hospitality industry. We connected participants with employment opportunities and projects that wherein they could use the newly acquired skills they had gotten from the academy. This initiative helped the participants apply what they had learned in real world settings. Um, Basically, what it had done was we ensured the long-term engagement, and we reinforce their skills through practical experience. I think by addressing these challenges, we were able to meet the challenges with targeted solutions. We laid the foundations for empowering them because we wanted them to be able to take part even in the evolving tourism landscape.
No, this is really, really helpful. And I think also just a great learning for all of us who are actively thinking about doing programs like this. You're often on the ground when you realize, oh, there's certain challenges that you need to tackle. So it's great to have practical advice, from partners like yourself who have already worked and kind of overcome a certain challenge. So thank you so much, Maica, for sharing that. I'm going to move on to Joyce. So Joyce, I think there's nothing that I haven't said already before. I think the vision and mission that Internet Society Foundation is absolutely fabulous, and the work that you're doing is so inspirational. But I think it's great for the audience to learn a little bit more about, you as an organization being on the ground. What are the ways that you have seen that access to internet has, truly transformed the access to opportunities and the way communities have responded to the opportunities that opened up to them? If you could share a few examples just for us to really understand the gravity of the problem that you're trying to solve.
Thank you, Asmita. I'm not going to give away my age, but I'm from the generation that when we were traveling, we were walking around with small dictionaries. We had a map to find our way. When you had to find a restaurant, you still had to ask people and hope they would send you to the right place for food that you would like. You had to go to a travel agent to actually book your travel, and wherever you wanted to go was not in the brochure, then you probably would not go there. The weather forecast, another thing, you just had to look at the TV in a language that you wouldn't understand to know what the weather was going to be the next day, to understand what you were going to do. Same thing for things a bit more complicated is that when you would apply for a visa, you still had to go to the local embassy and with your passport and get your stamp and all of that. And so all of that, you said it earlier, Asmita, is that when you have connectivity, you now take these things for granted. It's all on your phone, on your computer. You just have to click one thing and things are just happening. For 1 out of 3 people on this planet, they just don't have access to any of that. And so it's 1/3 of the population. That is still not connected to the opportunities of the internet. And obviously we think about connecting to the internet, but ultimately what we really want is people to be connected to the opportunities of the internet. And so let me maybe just tell you a little bit about our Nepal story, because I think it's going to illustrate a little bit of what we're trying to get to. This all started with a very concrete challenge. So climate change is changing the way travel is happening, is changing the opportunities that certain destinations have. People who live in rural areas, very often the younger generation, have to move to the city to have access to opportunities. So they leave their rural areas to actually go to the capital city or the closest large city to have the opportunities, because they don't have access to the internet, they don't have access to opportunities. And so when Kepal, who's one of the Sherpas in Nepal that we worked with, he basically wanted to transform his community and to bring more opportunities to their villages and to make sure that they had kind of alternative means to revenue as well, very frankly speaking, to economic opportunities. and hopefully to also keep some of the younger generation in the villages because there was opportunities for them. So they didn't feel they have to leave because they didn't have opportunities. And so his dream, he started off with, he wanted to create a homestay program. And so he reached out to our local internet community, to our chapter, and had an initial conversation. And so that's how it all started when when our chapter then called us and said, like, listen, we have this project, will we be able to do something? We looked into it. And so what we see now that the villages are connected is that, and you've seen it, Asmita, as well in some of the videos and the reports we sent through, is that um, they have received the digital training. They have now connected to schools. The smile on, I mean, one of my colleagues was there, and the smile on the kids' faces when they actually were online and they saw a picture of their school on the internet was just amazing. But so they are now learning some digital skills. They have connected a hospital who can actually, the doctors can now connect to doctors in the capital city to get some consultations as well on more complicated cases. There's the homestay program that is now starting up, and the list goes on. I don't know where I would stop the list, but it is really transforming places that had no opportunities or had opportunities but not the same opportunities. And so that digital gap that we heard about earlier, the digital divide is still there for the people who do not have access to the internet. And when I say access to the internet, it's not about the access to the internet, it's access to all of the opportunities that the internet brings. So I can talk for 3 hours if you want, but I know we don't have to pause here.
No, I'm sure, like, I can also just listen to these stories, because I remember I was going through the report that you sent from the, the project that we did in Nepal. And I think it was truly such an emotional experience reading through it, because we started talking about it, multiple months ago. And then to see that program actually become a reality, and to see that video of people actually accessing internet for the first time, it's such a beautiful thing. And, you're doing great work, and ISOC is doing great work on the ground. And now on a little bit of a, on a note where what you yourself mentioned, I think when you give access to the internet, you're not just giving access to the internet, you're giving access to a world of opportunities. And also something that we have noted in a lot of our trainings is that access doesn't solve the problem. It's often introducing tools within that, introducing the right digital tools, the right skilling that leads to, effective use of the internet. So were there any sort of like barriers that you faced in communities that have traditionally not had access to internet when you try to introduce digital tools, training, skilling programs? Are there ways that you think, us or other organizations who might be, in the audience today, who can supplement the work that you're doing? That'll be honestly a great insight into the work.
Thank you for that question. I mean, our focus is very much looking at the technical trainings, and so not only, but it's the trainings related to the internet specifically. So we go into communities, we bring the communities together, which is usually step one, which is already one of the sometimes a challenge, because you need to get the buy-in from the community, especially when you go to more rural areas. You still have a structure that is very often different from what we are used to. You need to get, if you go to certain villages in Africa, you need to get the chiefs involved because you need to get the buy-in from the local community to one, bring that connectivity, do then the training. The one thing that we've noticed is that you really need to train. You need to build the local capacity. So you need to really bring the local capacity to the communities, which means not only training them, but as you refer to it in one of the other programs as well, is training trainers is critically important, because you need to have that sustainable aspect to it. By training one person, you give the opportunity to one person, but when that person decides to do something different or move away, then you lose all of the opportunities that you have created through that one person. So training trainers locally, in their local context, in their local language, is definitely a challenge. Not a problem, but it's a challenge at sometimes. And so that is definitely something. I think for the platforms in particular, what is important is not only bringing the connectivity there, affordability, as I mentioned, is also a challenge, and resilience of the internet. And so What that often means is that you need to host local content locally, or see if you can host content locally, just to drive the cost down. If your content is hosted in I don't know, a server in the United States, for example, the cost of connectivity is much higher. So those are some of the things, very practical things, more technical things and practical things that that need to be taken into consideration. Cultural challenges are also something. There's often fear of the internet because, as we all know, we don't like to talk about it, but the internet doesn't always bring only good things. And so there is a bit of a fear of the internet. So making sure that you manage that and that you build it into your capacity building. So you build it into your training, that explaining how people need to protect themselves. And I would say for the governments we have online here as well is that we very often build, we focus mostly on community led connectivity solutions, and which means that you need to have local regulations that actually support that. So that is also a very important point that that often is something that we need to focus on.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Joyce. So many things that we identify with, and also, though not similar in the scale of the challenge that you're trying to tackle, but also bringing local nuance and really bringing, like, speaking to the language and meeting the communities where they're at is so important. And when you're building programs or any sort of capacity building and infrastructure projects, I think starting from point of understanding and empathy for the community that you're working with has played such a great role in us improving the programs that we do, and finding partners like yourself. So thank you so much for shedding the light on the fabulous work that you do. And now moving on to Simar. Simar, honestly, very similar questions. As I was just mentioning earlier in the session, I was with Simar when GHE and Global Himalayan Expedition and Simar were delivering a fantastic 10-day long residential capacity building program for communities in Uttarakhand. We did two types of trainings. One was a basic foundational training for people who have not necessarily had a lot of experience with technological tools or platforms like ourselves, or even hosting for that instance. And then we also work with communities who have relied on traditional methods. So there's so many lessons for me just out of sitting in those sessions, the kind of understanding that Simar and GHE has of the local nuance that Joyce was mentioning, that sometimes it's just important to bring an organization onto the table which has better roots on the ground, who understands the community better, and it makes that much more of a meaningful role. So, Simar, can you share a couple more success stories similar to what Joyce mentioned? You have worked on the ground, and GHE has worked on the ground across the northern belt in India. So many diverse set of experiences. So, can you share any success stories from the different interventions? And I know beyond the homestay program, GHE also does multiple other programs and solar electrification and so on and so forth. So if you could share some success stories, how have you seen communities transform and the impact, that'd be amazing. So over to you.
Thank you, Asmita. So GHE has been in field of rural development, like destination development, from last now 10 to 11 years. And we basically started as an electrification company, which through expeditions that we started with. And over the period of time, we have grown into more holistic development of the village, introducing clean cook stoves in the villages, electrification, then many other interventions like healthcare sectors. So during this journey of 10 years, actually, what we have seen is like the different transformation that the company itself had, GHE in itself. And then coming to the initiatives that we have taken, there were multiple initiatives that has transformed the company into, a more broader spectrum. So there have been multiple developmental infrastructures that we have set up, and what we have realized, and like one of the best, I think, initiative that I would like to share with you all is setting up the homestays in the rural and development areas, like very rural and very traditional methods. And these homestays have been, these run by the local people. They have been trained very well. Not just the homestays, these homestays have also been equipped and integrated with the local experiences of the area that is particular to that region. And what we have seen, like the homestay culture has never been new, right? Like all the people who have been trekking, and it has been very prominent amongst trekkers from last many years. What we did is we made it more accessible to the domestic and international tourists who wanted to experience the local culture and lifestyle of the people. So these experiences that we integrated, I think that has been the most highlight part of the entire initiative that we came up with. The experiences that we integrated was, one of them was stargazing. And of course it started with the training of 30 individual entrepreneurs who wanted to do something, and then the training happened and they came out to be, the budding entrepreneurs, as we call them. And when we started this entire journey, we came across, so you cannot just start with the homestays, right? There is a complete process that we went into. We started with the solar electrification of the village itself. Then the solar water heaters were installed. Then the homestays came into picture. And it's basically a journey that we followed. After the homestays, the experiences were curated. And all these things clubbed together now offers you one of the best experience, one of the most niche kind of an experience that a traveler can get. Apart from that, what we have done, like the entire journey, when I talk about that, the solar powered homestays, the guides who have been trained from the villages who take you for the village walks, the local ladies who make handicrafts and they offer their souvenirs to you, the local cuisine that has been offered to you, and the homestay that has been powered and equipped with the most clean energy source of like water heaters and all these things. When clubbed together, they all kind of make a value chain that is self-sustainable. And I think that has been the biggest journey that we have come across and biggest success story, if I would like to share with you all. Apart from that, like just the stargazing thing was a big hit. It's just a 20 minutes activity that we have, but combining every element all together with it makes it more kind of a sustaining kind of a model, and the people that can look forward to it. And of course it has led to the creation of one of the first dark sky reserve in Ladakh, and I think that has been the most transforming journey, the most successful story that we have had come across. Of course, following with the other stories that we have in different fields, like following the healthcare, following the cook stove deployment that we have in the northeastern part of India, and amongst many others.
Amazing. No, I would also like to add, I think what the work that we do with GHE, the work that Airbnb does with GHE, obviously, as Simar mentioned very clearly, there's a gamut of work that they do beyond homestays as well. They're building capacity in the true sense of the word, which is they meet the communities where they're at and they build the infrastructure that they need. But for us in the homestay program where we have partnered with them, I think the biggest standout for me while we were going through these trainings, and something that we hope to take with us in the future programs as well, is that they take what's unique to the local culture and make it into a strength for that community and that culture. We were in Uttarakhand, and there was a session that GHE and Simar ran, which was basically like letting people in the community, the people who were getting trained, know about how they can actually showcase local ingredients in a more effective manner. Adding value added services to just the most basic hospitality experience that you can offer. So we truly think that there's building access, there's building digital skills, and on top of that, you stack these value added services and cultural nuances that truly makes a program really, really effective. So thanks so much for sharing that, Simar. I would also love to understand, because you yourself truly mentioned that you try to find those niche, unique capabilities within communities. Do you face any challenges with respect to that, in the sense that this is something that we experienced when we went into rural communities in somewhere within India itself, where people were like, our culture doesn't, support that, or our culture doesn't allow that. And we were trying to tell them about how, irrespective of what your, culture is on offer, you can turn it into a strength and really showcase that this is the niche, kind of experience you can offer to a traveler. So how do you incorporate that pride in local culture and the pride in what you're able to offer into the training programs that you're delivering, and when you're imparting digital literacy and making it a lot more holistic?
Thank you, Asmita, again. Whatever years that we have spent on the ground, what we have come up with the realization, So more than trust, more than making them more worthy or more close to ourselves, what the community requires is the confidence. So working with them for these many years now, we have come up, like, if you have built that confidence amongst the community, they come up with the culture that they have to exhibit. They come out with flying colors. And so whenever we approach for any intervention in any of the villages or any of the region, we do not directly go for any tourism approach. We collaborate with the locals. We build a collaboration in terms of the intervention that we're going to bring in. We access the need of the what is the need of the place, and with that collaboration we slowly intervene in terms of the requirements that they have in the village, and then slowly move to the next part. So whenever we talk about the tourism part of it, and when we talk about the entire wholesome holistic development, the homestay or the tourism part, at least I think at the almost at the end part of the entire partnership that we have created with them. So whenever you're in this process, the trust has already been built. So for
Yeah.
us personally, it
Yeah.
has never been that problem. Yeah, it has never been that kind of a hindrance that has
Yeah.
come into our way.
Yeah.
So we have partnered, we have intervened, we have done the required intervention that was required, and finally the homestays. So to sustain that model or the intervention that you have done, you make them realize that yes, now the big part has been done. The small part is to maintain it, or to bring in more people to see what you have created in here, what you have preserved with you for the many years that you have done. So when we come to that conclusion, okay, so this is your turn now, the partnership needs to go to the next level, and now you have to preserve and you have to maintain what you have set up. So they're already ready for it, because they have channelized the need for it. And there have been a lot of migration to the urban areas, of course.
Yeah.
You have created that opportunity in the same village itself, and they realize, yes, this is the requirement, they stay back. And when they realize the potential of it, they stay even stronger, and they come out with their cultures and the traditions that they have to offer. So that's how the entire process has been. You set up the requirements, you do fulfill it, and the homestays, and of course creating the experiences of it. So that way I think we have been very lucky in terms of communities and working with them. And also adding to the digital part of it, the homestays that we have, so all the hosts that we have, so in Airbnb term, it's super host, so we are just taking that term from you. The MH in the GHE super host that we have, all the hosts that we have, they use the channel managers for their bookings. They of course do the digital payment setup that they have created for themselves. They are present on the social media platforms to promote themselves and creating a kind of market for themselves. They are using it for outreach program, they're using it for better communication. So we do understand, the hosts do understand the requirement of the digital world, because it's necessary and beneficial for them in today's scenario, of course, for the travelers, for us, and for them as well. It's kind of breaking the barrier, and it's also kind of lessening the gap or the bridge that's creating between the digital world and the remote regions of the Himalayan countries, Himalayan villages, and on the other parts. So that's how it has been. And one thing I would like to add is, like, we seldom think that digital intervention might exploit or maybe a disruption for them, because they have been creating, and they have an ecosystem, a close kind of an ecosystem that they have created for them. But we personally believe that if you go in a way, and if you channelize in a way, when the things are right and the things that they want to showcase to you are showed or portrayed in a way that they have been preserving it, I think that's the best medium that they can come up with. And that has always been the case. And also we have realized that the aim of creating that entire ecosystem should not be the commercial part of it, but also to come on to a result which is more local and more self-sustainable for the communities, so that they are proud of their culture and they're proud of the local ecosystem that they have created. So far, that's how been the entire journey has been.
No, amazing. I mean, I've thankfully had a first-hand experience, seeing how you take what your approach or GHE's approach to trainings is. So, very, very excited, scale them further. I know we're planning another one very, very soon, in Uttarakhand and other markets, hopefully very, very soon. But with that, we come to the end of the panel discussion. I don't have any follow-up questions, but I do believe we have some time for Q&A. So over to you, Pavnesh. And if there's any questions that we want to take from the audience, happy to take that forward.
Thanks, Asmita, and to all our speakers for this wonderful session. Now we will see if we have any questions from the audience. Does any of the fellow panelists would like to add something?
Women have less access to opportunities. And I think what we are grateful to Airbnb for this is that the women that they supported through our programs are doubly or triply marginalized. Not only is it equitable for them, but many of them come from difficult circumstances. Women, of course, who are coming from detention, we want to give a second chance to, or those who are single mothers to 2 or sometimes 3 children, or those who have come from difficult marriages or from difficult partners, and that those are the opportunities we'd like to make. I think it just so happened that Airbnb is working with Spark. We are a women's organization, so of course those are the communities that we serve.
Right. So thanks to all our speakers, Asmita, Joyce, Maica, and Simarpreet. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. And now you can turn off your cameras and stay on board, or you can leave. Thank you so much for this session. Now, I would like to highlight that the Issues and Trends, Volume 29, Climate Change Impact on Destination Reputation is available on the PATA website. You can visit pata.org/catalog to access this report. And if you haven't registered yet, we are celebrating 25 years of PATA in Thailand by hosting PATA Travel Mart in Thailand this year. This will take place from August 27th till 29th at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Center in Bangkok. If you haven't registered yet, you can go to PATA website to find more details or scan the QR code for more information. The next event that's happening is the PATA Destination Marketing Forum with the theme of Authentic, Prosperous Journeys, Nurturing Culture, Culinary Delights, and Community Wisdom. That will be taking place in Cha'am at Chaburi in Thailand from November 12th till 14th. You can also visit PATA website for more information and details about this event, and alternatively scan the QR code for more information. With that, I would like to thank all the speakers again. Thanks to Airbnb for organizing this webinar. And if you have any questions with regards to this webinar or how to become a PATA member, you can reach out to me at pavnesh@pata.org. And alternatively, visit our website, www.pata.org, for further details. Once again, thanks to all our speakers, our members, board members, life members, our partners, our executive board for the continued support to the association. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Stay safe and hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.